Eufy just came out with a brand new software update, and it honestly is really good. Or at least the one new feature that they just came out with is the best feature that I've always wanted for their software. The coolest new feature that they have is this thing right here called Contours feature. It is something that I have been wanting for the longest time. And it isn't just reserved for things like squares and rectangles. You can even do objects like these and have perfect contours all the way around weirdly shaped objects. Now the contours feature can work on the small and large flatbeds, which is really nice. But I'm going to demonstrate how to do this on the small flatbed for today. The reason for that is the snapshot feature for the large one takes so long. However, you just have to think that while I'm only going to put 2 on a page, you can actually do way more than that on the larger one, which is really cool. Now, before we get started, on a side note, I kind of found a little mat saving hack. Now, most of the time you see on my mats are these right here, and I would love to call these the forever mat. However, kind of expensive and isn't being sold right now. An alternative that I have found is getting yourself some vinyl transfer tape. This is a brand new one, but let me show you how to install it onto a large flatbed. First, what we got to do is take off the big forever mat. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our vinyl transfer tape, and you are going to put the actual sticky side down. So you want to reveal the white portion. Now my vinyl tape isn't large enough for the entire mat, so I'm going to focus on the left side of my mat, and I'm just going to roll this all the way down. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to take an X-acto knife, and I'm just going to cut away. All right, once that's done, all you need to do is now take off the white backing. All right, I'm going to take a little brayer and just rub down any of the edges just to make sure that it has a nice adhesion to the mat. But there you have it, a protected mat. So when you print on something and you have a bit of overspray, the overspray is going to go on this clear film instead of your mat, making sure that you preserve your mat. I actually really like the transfer tape that I have because I feel like it's really sticky. So I'm going to just put these 2 Lego hearts on my tray. I have it stuck on there, and look, it's stuck. So it's not going to slide around on you. That is the benefit of doing something like this as opposed to the silicone tray, because with the silicone tray, you're going to have to put the silicone binder things in there, and it might become like it just takes a little bit longer than to just be able to stick something on there, and it just sticks just fine. Also, definitely a cost-effective alternative. This entire roll was like 20 bucks, and this sticky sheet is not a one-time use. You can continue to use this until it's not sticky, or if you have too much of like overspray, obviously at that point you're going to want to replace the mat. But that is a quick cost-saving hack for you. One thing to note, when you are done printing for the day, you can keep your white sheet and just place that over the top of your sticky mat. That also preserves the stickiness of that transfer tape a little while longer. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to set up the Eufy, all right? I already have my small bed. I am going to insert first these rectangle magnets. The reason for that is I want to show you how cool it is with just doing the magnets, okay? And then we'll get into this, and then if it can do both of the contours together, okay? So I'm going to put this on here just like this. We are going to insert this into the Eufy. Then over at the software, you're going to want to press this plus sign. Now this works just as like you were doing any other project. You're going to come over here and press snapshot. Now you can turn off the auto detect contours if you want, but you want to make sure that it is turned on for today's video, okay? So we're going to do snapshot. I honestly can't imagine why you would want to turn them off anyways. In the end, if you decide you don't want to use the contours, you can just delete them. So even if you didn't want to use them later, don't worry, you're not going to have to do a new snapshot. You can just delete the contours. Once the snapshot is done, what's going to start happening is it's going to start doing the AI detecting contours thing. Now, here is going to be one of the interesting limitations to the new contours feature. I do want to note that it is AI, and at the end of the day, AI is not perfect. So do you see how it has picked up the white line that's right here? That is something that is an overspray from my original matte that I had. So it's picked that up. Now this new contours feature has a lot of benefits. One of them is that we can batch fill. So if you're creating, let's say 10 or 15 of the same printed magnets in the same size, you're going to want to make sure that your contours are exactly the same. So because my right contour looks so different than the left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to move this magnet away from that weird overspray line. I'm going to move it. Let's go right. We'll go over here. Away from all the lines. Awesome. Okay. Now, because I've moved something around, what you're going to want to do is press snapshot again. It's going to take a whole new snapshot. Yes, it's going to take more time, but if you are batch filling these, if you're going to be making, like I said, 10 or 15 of these, you're going to want to make sure that all of your contours are all the same across the board. All right, now that we have that done, you are going to see that we have a contour here and a contour here, and they look the same, all right? Again, I'm going to note and preface this with, this is all AI, and AI is not 100% perfect. So sometimes we have to do a little bit of finagling to make sure it works, okay? If you want larger contours, all you're going to need to do is select the circle and make them larger. Now, unfortunately, we don't get a preview of like smaller or larger when you're just dragging them. So you're going to have to drag and click and wait for the contours to get bigger. Just like that, okay? Let's say that we're just gonna keep it like this. I'm actually not gonna print anything today, but just so you can see how this all works, okay? So while I was waiting for the second snapshot to get done, I went and found some really cool images off of Creative Fabrica. I absolutely love that place for zero design work. They have a bunch of these like fisherman aesthetic clip arts, which one are super popular, two, I think they're actually really cute. So I'm going to drag and drop this Fantastic Flavors into the Eufy Studio. I am going to resize this to fit inside the canvas because clearly we're going to be doing something small and not like a huge project today. So resize. Now the one thing that I absolutely love about this new feature is that we are no longer going to have to do a lot of the adjusting ourselves. All you have to do is you are going to take your image and you are going to drag and drop it into the contours. It's going to automatically do its thing. It's going to adjust it, put it in the actual spot, okay? It is not 100% perfect. I will show you what that looks like here in a bit with the hearts, but just know that there is going to be some zhuzhing that you're going to have to do, okay? So with this one over here on the left, I'm just going to make this bigger. And we'll center this. Now, my little magnet does seem like it's like on a tilt or a lean. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a lean just to make sure it leans right. Okay, let's say that I'm happy with the placement of this. And I also want to do this on the other magnet or 10 or 15 of the same magnets if you had that many on your screen. All you need to do is press this circle and do batch fill. And what you have to do is make sure, this is where your outlines need to be the same. If your outlines are not the same, it's not going to carry over to the second one or the 10 or 9, the 9 or 14 that are on my screen if I had that many, okay? So you want to press yes and see how it auto completed over there. Eventually I am going to get a square magnet and a heart on my screen just so I can show you that it won't go together, okay? But this I love. Now, let's say, because that is one of the things that I really like, but let's say that you are doing a print like this, okay? Let's do, yes, to resize. It is super big. Before, what we would have to do is we'd have to crop it ourselves. Now, instead of cropping it ourselves, when we drag and drop this into the frame, it twisted it over to the side. I want to go up and down with it, and I'm going to make this bigger. And do you see how when I make it bigger and larger, my actual clip art is this big versus my frame is this big? If you've ever played in Canva before, frames in Canva is essentially the same thing of this new contours feature. So think of it, if you've played with Canva, think of the new contours feature like the frames in Canva, okay? So my actual clip art is this big, but my frame is down here. So we can make this larger or smaller. Obviously, if you go smaller, it's not gonna fill up your entire frame, or you can make it larger, it's gonna be like this. This is actually not a good one to show you just because it gets cut off. So let's do this one, okay? Here it is, drag and drop into the canvas. We are going to rotate this, and I want to fill up my magnet. So I'm going to go all the way to the top here, all the way to the bottom here, and you see how everything is getting cut from the sides. We have my actual image this is huge, and my contours, the actual image is the green line, the contours is the blue line, okay? If I make this larger, do you see how now the head of this guy is cut off? You can move it around, all right? Let's say that we like this positioning, okay? Now that we're happy with that, you can also click this circle and do batch fill and press yes. Now, here it is over here, okay? Sometimes I have noticed that like over here, you may need to do a little bit of like editing and moving around too. Just a little bit, not a whole lot, but the way that you have it positioned over here on the left, it should go over to the right. But I have noticed, especially with these little hearts, that I did have to rotate just a little bit, but that still, this is a lot easier to do than the before of having to do it ourselves. The other thing that I really like is, let's say that you wanted to do like pattern textures, like we're going to customize this, right? We're going to customize this for a bunch of, we're going to do some pattern textures and stuff like that, right? So if you look, this is what it's going to look like. Finished. Woo! So cute. So cool. Once you hit this circle and you come over here to batch fill, press yes. And your settings that you have for this one also correspond. So everything you want to do for the first one, what I would suggest if you're batch filling these is set up your very first one the way you want it to be. The print settings that you want, if you want this textured, if you don't want it textured, set your first one up, click on the circle, and then do batch fill. Now, if you do not want your contours, if you've decided, you know what, like I did say, like you don't want these contours, click your circle and just delete it. Click this circle and just delete it. Now your contours are gone. Now, unfortunately, once you do that, you can't bring them back unless we just go undo, okay? But if you like keep going forward, and you're like, oh, I want my contours back, there's not like a button that says bring them back. So otherwise, you're just going to have to undo, or you can just do a brand new snapshot. Now, I really wanted to test this out on things that aren't a circle or a square, that had different lines than just straight lines, right? Because like, does this actually work for things that aren't straight? So I pulled out some of my leftover Lego hearts. We printed on these before in a previous video, but I am going to set this down here, and I'm going to do my last one. So we're going to have 4 things here. We're going to have 2 hearts. We're going to have 2 rectangles. All right. We're going to keep it like that. And then what we are going to do is we are going to press snapshot again. Again, everything is going to redo just like what we did with the second snapshot for these two rectangles. All right, we now have 4 different contours looking all different. Let's test out something because I actually haven't tested this out. We're going to come here and I am going to drag into this. All right, I'm going to use this circle. I don't know if this is actually perfect or not, but I'm going to use this circle and I'm going to batch fill and I'm going to press yes. Whoa. I'm unsure why it did this and over here because that doesn't make any sense. Technically, because it's not the same contour, you shouldn't have this ability. This is where AI is not perfect. Okay, so I'm going to delete these. Let's keep those 2. And I'm going to add this one back in, and I'll drag this to this. Okay, do these circles. Batch fill. Yes. Oh, and look, this last one didn't even change. Again, AI is not perfect. So we have to, you definitely have to double check because see how this one is up and down, and then this one is tilted over to the side, and then you can see that this right here is not even the same, like the guy is here. So AI is not perfect, definitely makes the job a little bit easier, but I don't know if I would suggest throwing in a bunch of different sized items and hoping that it turns out all right. You know what I mean? But what I did want to show you here is going to be the outline of this heart. So do you see how the outline of this heart is like jagged all the way around? It like follows the whole contour of the heart. So look at that. So before, in this previous video that we did when we printed on these Legos, I had to tape off all the Legos and then also put additional tape on my mat to combat overspray because they didn't like the outline button that you had, the crop button that we had before, it wouldn't crop to something that was oddly shaped like this. Like it would give you a heart, but this isn't a perfect like actual clip art heart, right? And so there was still a bunch of overspray. Now with this, there's no overspray or very minimal. You can make it larger if you want, but if we were to like drag this one into here, hello? What happened? Okay, there we go. Yes, to canvas. Okay, if you were to drag this into here, we're going to rotate this and just make this larger. And you can see that now this is the coolest part, is that there is going to be very minimal overspray. Insane. Love it. So cost saving on ink, cost saving on time, cost saving on your mats or even the transfer tape that we're printing on. It's just more efficient all the way around. Now let's see if we're going to batch fill this again. Oh, and see how it doesn't give you one here, but now here, yeah, this is AI. AI is not perfect, you know, but that's fine. We can just adjust this real quick, move this over. And we technically could print all 3 of these right now. You could, if you needed to, you could add this back in and snap this into place if you wanted to and make this bigger. Now, I probably wouldn't do this. And the reason for that is you can see that it's off here. Also, this is actually a poor example of wanting to print multiple things because also note that the magnets are way shorter in size than these Legos. So this is not a very good print. If you were to print this, these would turn out great and these ones would be blurry and not turn out at all because the printing height is so far different between the two. I am glad I caught that because man, would that be terrible if you like threw in all of these blanks and they were all varying heights and you're like, wait, why did the shorter ones print terribly versus the larger ones? Now, outside of this new update, I really honestly haven't seen too much more that I'm like, ooh, I'm excited about. I'm not really someone who generally gets excited about software updates because honestly, sometimes software updates are like worse than what they were before. But this new contours and snap feature and batch feature is chef's kiss, hands down. One thing, if Eufy is watching, which I know that they do watch all of my videos, because every single time I post anything that is negative about them, they do slide in my DMs. The one thing that I would really love is like technically my machine was in the moisture state, and I had to inject it in order to even play around with a new feature within the software. To do like a snapshot and stuff. I really wish that they would reverse that and let me do some of my like the pre stuff before, because what if I change my mind and decide I don't want to print? I didn't even want to print these today. There was no printing that was going to happen today. I just wanted to test out this new feature and share it with all my friends, and I shouldn't have to go out of moisturizing mode. And the reason for that is like, because for the maintenance portion, see how I have this right here? And we actually use some cleaning solutions and things like that. I don't want to have to use that. So that's my gripe for the for a new software. Once the new software updates come in, like, could we just do it backwards? Could I do all of my snapshots and stuff like that before ever having to do an inject, because maybe I just changed my mind and don't want to actually print anything. You know what I mean? Now that I've told you that I'm actually looking for a feature with the software, what is a feature that you would love to see within the studio, the EufyMake Studio? I do know that I am still not really satisfied with the way that the design process works over in the software, which is fine because I have things like Canva or even Inkscape to do the design work for me. But what would be something that you're looking for? You let me know in the comments of this video, and I'll see you on the next one.